I like it, girl. I like it, girl. Like it, girl. I like it, girl. I like it, girl. I like it, girl.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Only a Girl. Today I have a wonderful guest with me, Janet Camilleri from Front Page SEO.
Hi Linda, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome, Janet. So this is your first time being on the podcast.
It is.
I guess I'll tell our viewers that the first time we met was actually at a BNI event, networking in the morning. It was at Storybridge Hotel, and I remember Janet being so warm and lovely and inviting. And it's been 2 years since I've joined BNI Midas.
Really? Oh, wow.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, time flies, doesn't it? Yeah.
And what about yourself, Janet? How long have you been BNI for?
Probably not much longer than you. I think I'm coming up, just on the 2 year point. So I literally must have just walked in the door before you.
We've seen a lot of changes that have happened.
Haven't we? Yes, a lot of changes in that time. For the better, I like to think.
Absolutely, and leadership team is full of female now, which is crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
There are only females in the group.
You're currently talking to the Secretary-Treasurer and...
For the Vice President.
So,
Just missing the President now.
Girl power.
Yeah. Well, so you've been in networking. You've done a lot of networking. Mm-hmm. With your business, you've been 12 years into business. You're celebrating your 12th year this year. Tell us a bit about Front Page SEO and what made you start the business.
I actually started the business off the back of one of the worst times in my life. Got made redundant from my position in government and had a not so great boss, and decided that I had skills and that I could work from home. My kids were still at home at that stage, and I thought I'd like to work from home, do my own thing, have my own business. Started out, had no clue what I was doing, but you learn, and obviously I'm still here 12 years later, so obviously that learning was effective.
Very good. And would you say an accountant would be the best person to have on your side to help you through it?
Yes, very valuable indeed. Although I will also give a shout out to my business coach. So working with a business coach really helped me take the next step, particularly when it got to the time where I was sick of working on my own. It's very feast or famine. And I knew I wanted to grow the business, but I didn't know how to do that. So working with a business coach helped me with that. And part of working with a business coach was, Janet, you really need to get across your financials. And where working with an accountant came in.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a big talk around business coaches and business mentors. What do you look for in a business coach? Is it more the accountability or someone that has run a business that understands what you're going through to help you grow to that next level?
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I first started thinking about working with a business coach, I was a bit like every second person I met was a business coach, and I was like, stay away from me. So what I looked for, someone I had a rapport with. It's like counselling. I think it's, although it's not counselling, although I've certainly cried on my business coach's shoulder a few times, you need to have that rapport. And my business coach was someone that I felt I could relate to. The other things I liked about her was that she had run a couple of successful businesses herself. So she'd walked the walk, and I think a lot of business coaches don't necessarily have that background. The only business they've run is their business coaching business. And the other thing I liked is she's part of a program. It's called Trusted Advisors Network, and they have like a curriculum. And my inner nerd showing here, I'm a former teacher. So I like something with a curriculum. So there were actual steps we could take, and that could be adapted to whatever my needs were at the time. So yes, the accountability, but also you don't know what you don't know. And she was able to say, well, have you thought about this? Or you could do that, and bringing a lot of ideas and knowledge that I had no idea about at all.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. And you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of business coaches out there that run their own business doing just that, but they haven't run any other businesses. And with any business, there are up and downs. So you have to look at the different industries before you can provide that advice. And yeah, that's one of the things I love about business coaches too, the accountability, they've run their own businesses, so they understand what it's like to have a small business and be stuck in that rut and how to get out of it. So they're there to support you, but not to, they're there to provide the right advice and guidance.
Yep, exactly. I think the difference between a coach and a consultant is a coach gets you to do the work and a consultant does the work for you.
Consults you, and then you can find your own pathway.
So the coach definitely made me work, and I would have homework after all our sessions, and she said I was a great implementer, which was a compliment. So there you go.
That's great. I mean, I guess this leads into your DIY courses that you have.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you used to be a teacher, but now that you don't teach, you still teach in a different way as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just, once a teacher, always a teacher. I love sharing knowledge with people, which is one of the reasons I got out of primary school teaching, is if people want to learn, I love to teach. A primary school classroom was not necessarily the right place. The kids didn't really want to be there, and nor did I. But that's okay. So what I found was there's all this mystery surrounding SEO. It's like this hocus pocus and smoke and mirrors, and a lot of business owners know they need it. They know it's a valuable marketing strategy, but they don't know much else about it or what to expect. And I talked to a lot of business owners that were really getting ripped off and they were being burned. And what
are the red flags that you see when...
Red flags. Anyone that promises you position number 1 in Google, because that's rubbish. Anyone that gives you a great big long shopping list of things they're going to do for you, but there's nothing that's actually a specific, measurable, deliverable. If they say, we'll analyse this and we'll consider that and we'll optimise this, that's all very well and good, but how much? Are you going to do 5 web pages? Are you going to do 6 of this or 5 of that or 10 keywords? And so they're able to hide behind this, what sounds like a great big shopping list of things they're doing for you, but a professional like myself can look at it and go, you're pushing 2 buttons and your client is paying how many thousand a month for that service? So I was frustrated. I wanted to help clean up the industry. And with my teaching background, I was like, why not? And plus, SEO is expensive. When it's done well, there's a lot of effort into it. And a lot of business owners just can't afford that. So I thought, rightio, what can I do to make a difference? Started my DIY SEO HQ about 3.5 years ago now, and it's really starting to take off now. So slow to start, but that's not a bad thing. It's given me time to find my feet and work out what I'm doing. And, now it's really starting to go well.
No, that's good. That's really good to hear. And, SEO is one of those things that, as a small business owner myself, that I know that I need. And using one of Janet's SEO packages as a starter pack really got, I still got leads through the website, which is great. I think with SEO, you have to be patient, don't you? It's a slow progress, but it gets better as the months goes on. And when you feed into the SEO and have SEO.
It's like a garden.
Like a garden. Just keep
watering
it.
A little bit of weeding every now and then.
A lot of weeding or just a tiny bit?
Just a little bit of weeding. It does definitely benefit from regular attention.
Yes, regular attention. I love that. Yeah. What about running your business as a women business owner? What's it like? It's been 12 years, so you must have a few stories that if you're comfortable with sharing your experiences. I know for myself, I've only been in business for 4 years, but stepping out of my comfort zone, going out to networking events, going into a room where I don't know anyone, that's the scariest part.
It is.
How do you handle that?
I struggled with that at first too. Networking was all new to me. And it's part of the reason why I chose to work with the business coach I did, is she seemed to have a specialty, I guess, working with female business owners, and the issues that tend to be more unique to us. We have a different communication style, and something also that we've talked about is that women often lack the confidence to be in business. And so literally the first task she set me was to keep an assertiveness diary. And I had to write down one thing every day in my business that I did that was assertive. And it could have been as simple as picking up the phone. I didn't like making phone calls. Or it could have been pushing back when a client was like, I want this, and this, and they're only paying for that. And in the past, I would have been like, I've got to do what they want. I've got to keep them happy. Got to please the client. Client's always right. Whereas over time, I learned, sure, you can have that service, but there will be an extra fee. And just developing that confidence was a big part of it. So, yeah, women in business, I think that does tend to be quite common. And she used to hold a group every fortnight, and there was like almost a dozen women in that room every fortnight in the same position. So I know I wasn't alone.
That's good. That's always good to have like a little group that you can go to and be yourself, really.
It is.
Just meeting and not vomiting, but just basically telling venting your whole week or the fortnight.
And it's like I
catch
said
up.
before, sometimes there were tears, but we also celebrated each other's wins. And being in SEO as a female is also interesting. So people tend to come into SEO one of two ways. They're either a website geek, and they like the coding and website-y stuff, or you're a copywriter, because when done well, there is a lot of copywriting in SEO. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of the IT people that come in who tend to be male, and the copywriters tend to be female, not always. I did read a stat somewhere, it's something like 70 to 80% male to female ratio. Working on my own in an office at home, I didn't encounter it too much for a while. It was when I started joining online groups that I really noticed, that it could be quite chauvinistic. And I'd post a question and other women would respond really beautifully. I'd post a question with genuine intent and wanting to learn and know stuff, and you would get torn apart. You'd be condescended to, you'd be patronised, you'd receive DMs telling you all sorts of things. And in the end, I left all of those Facebook groups, and I'm just in a couple of female-only SEO groups now. So it wasn't a very pleasant experience, and, I didn't like it very much.
No, I don't imagine it would have been very pleasant at all. And was that probably a few years ago? Or,
Yeah, probably, 4 years ago maybe,
Yeah.
I had to try them out, and then I went, no, not for me.
No. But definitely in-person networking has been beneficial, I guess, going out and meeting others as well. At the same time, though, you do get, when you go into a room where it is male-dominated, it's hard to
All the suits.
fit in. Yeah, all the suits, and where I know I'm tiny, so to go into a room and everyone's just so hard.
I know, and there is a perception too. So I've noticed this when I go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, that it tends to be all the suits, as I call it. And if you say you have a business and you work from home, and because you're female, I do feel sometimes that they, disregard you and don't take you seriously. And look, there's a lot of women who probably do have lifestyle businesses. They've got young kids at home and whatever, and that's fine and 100% great for them. But just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I'm not a serious business owner. I'm very serious.
Oh, yes, definitely. 12 years in business, Janet. I think you've made it.
Well, I try.
You do. No, you do. You do more than try. But yeah. So tell us about your experience. Do you have any employees, or do you mostly work with contractors? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I started out very tentatively. I knew to grow the business it had to be more than just myself. So I started off with an intern who actually worked for another local marketing company, and they basically hired her out to me one day a week, which was great. So that's how there was no risk for me, and they were a business that was all about being very supportive. So that was a great way to start. And after 12 months of that, I realised, this was definitely the way I wanted to go. That particular person was not the best fit for my company. So it was around that stage, with the help of my business coach, that I started recruiting, and I put on 2 wonderful women to help me. And even though people say it's hard to get good help at the moment, I didn't find that, probably because my roles were working from home.
Yes.
And that's always going to be popular. So I had Lisa and Emma come on board, and they were both wonderful contractors. We started out with contractors over time, but I gradually grew to realise that when you have a contractor, you're supposed to pay them super anyway, and there's all sorts of rules and regulations around how to do it properly, and basically they were becoming employees. So I knew I had to make the leap to make them employees, and I was very fortunate to get a HR grant last year, I think it was, and that set me up with a HR company providing me with the documents I needed, the policies, the procedures, the recruitment process. And by this stage, Lisa and Emma had both moved on. So I needed to I put Shahida on. She was already a contractor, and I was able to put her on as an employee, which was fantastic. Great for her because it's security for her. Great for me because I feel like she's more invested in the business now as an employee. And I have a couple of other casual employees that do work for me as and when required. And I also have a contractor. I have a male employee. Now that was a big challenge for me. And
why is that?
Well, maybe that's my background coming out. I grew up in a single parent home with just a mother and sisters and a baby brother. So I hadn't done a lot around males, wasn't really comfortable around them. And like I said, there was this attitude in the industry. So when I was looking for a contractor, because it was someone to help us with the technical side of things, it did tend to result in a lot of applications from males. So I had to be very firm with myself and choose the best person for the job, regardless of gender. And Dean came on board, and he's been absolutely wonderful. But that was a real challenge for me, I guess, because of my background. Maybe it's not for other people, but for me, it freaked the hell out of me.
Was there like a certain skill that you look for when you hired someone? We're from different industries, so I guess in the accounting and bookkeeping industry, you kind of, when I look for someone to bring on board as a contractor, as an employee, they should be studying their Certificate 3 or getting their diplomas in accounting. And with, back in the day, I got my Certificate 3 and diploma, and the way we used to do things is very different to how they do things now, in terms of what they learn, the skills that they get. So when they come into the firm to do the work, they don't have that experience that I got the opportunity to get when I did my Set 3. Is that how you found with your employees?
There were certain things I did look for. I didn't necessarily, in actual fact, I didn't want people with a background in SEO because the industry has got such a bad rap, and I didn't want them to have learned bad habits or inferior techniques or black hat techniques, as we call them. Yep. So there were certain things I looked for. The first one, of course, is attitude. If you've got someone who's eager and willing, that will take you a long way. I mentioned there's copywriting. There's a lot of copywriting. So it had to be someone who could write. I didn't care if they'd never worked as a copywriter or a journalist or anything like that before, but part of the recruitment process, we did give them a task where they had to write something for us. And I did pay them for that too. It wasn't free labour. And the final thing that was really important to me was attention to detail. So SEO requires a lot of finicky work where you really need to, it's probably a bit like accounting and bookkeeping, you need to dot the I's and cross the T's, and you need to pay attention. And I looked for that. So the recruitment process, there were little tests built in the whole way through. Yep. So the first thing, when they first sent their application in and they made the first cut, and I'm like, okay, we'd like to set up an interview. I sent them a list of interview times and dates and said very specifically, I can't remember exactly what it was now, but cross out this one if it's no good, and prioritise them in order of what time would suit you best. So 1, 2, 3, and cross out everything else. And the number of people that couldn't or didn't do that, and that to me was a really big warning sign. You need to be able to follow instructions and follow direction. Yep. So although I still interviewed a couple of those people, and I might have put 1 or 2 on maybe, to me that I knew what I was getting into. Yeah. I knew that was not their strength. So I've lived and I've learned.
That's an interesting one, actually. I've never thought of doing that. It's always been, here's a date and time, can you make it? If you can't, suggest another one. Is that something that your HR consultant assisted with the grants?
That was actually my business coach who taught me that. We had a bit of a process, and when I did employ the HR company, they're like, oh, you've got this part down, Pat, let's help you with something else. So, it was good.
That's good. Awesome. Any fun facts about you? Let's get to the fun bits. I mean, we talked about business. Let's talk about getting to know Janet as a person.
Janet as the person. Oh, what can I tell you? I'm a crazy cat lady.
I'm a crazy dog lady.
I have 2 cats somehow. I had one. who is very spoilt, Miss Fleur, and she's our office mascot, our office supervisor, if you
Oh,
please.
yes, yeah.
But we also seem to have inherited my son's cat. So he left home, got a cat, and my son was living in a one-bedroom unit that you couldn't swing a cat in at the time, and the cat went a bit stir-crazy. So he ended up coming to live with us, and we thought when he got married and moved to a bigger property that he'd take the cat, but his wife is allergic. So guess who got the cat?
The crazy cat lady.
Which is okay. And I passed the genes on because he had a cat and my daughter has 3 cats. So,
Oh, wow.
you know, it runs in the family.
It does. No, that's no. I'm a dog person. Whilst I do appreciate cats, I think I love my new puppy pats.
Yeah.
The little legs.
You seem to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and remember that networking event we went to for LinkedIn,
do, yes.
LinkedIn Local,
Yeah.
and one of the activities they had us do, they were like, stand on one side of the room if you're a cat person or a dog person, and the dog people absolutely
Yes.
had the majority, didn't they?
We certainly did, and we were looking over the other side. There was only a few cat people there.
And then you're going, weirdos.
not quite. We're probably thinking it, but not saying it.
I like both. I just
Yeah.
like animals. Yeah, they're just gorgeous. Yeah.
They really are. They make your life more balanced, let's just say. I mean, working at home or even working at the office, if you're here all the time and you've got no one to go home to, you kind of keep on working, don't you? Just have the work-life balance.
Yes, exactly. And Fleur does remind me, this is my cat, does remind me of work-life balance. If she thinks I've been sitting at the computer too long, she jumps up on my desk and kind of distracts me. Or like yesterday, she's a bit of a brat, I have to be honest. Yesterday, she picked up a pen in her mouth, took it off my desk, dropped it on the ground, and when I went down to take it off her, she swiped at me. Look, I've got a scratch here.
Yeah.
I'm like, excuse me, it's my pen. So after that, I kicked her out the office.
Okay. Yeah. That works too.
She was in the bad books. So anyway, she's very spoilt, but yeah, she's a bit of a diva.
Oh, diva. Okay. Got it. Do you... Like,
Oh,
Sorry.
you're still recovering from your cricket.
I'm still recovering from being sick. You've been in business for 12 years. Do you have any... Let's give us 5 tips. 5 tips for our viewers.
Oh, 5 tips. Okay,
It
well,
doesn't have to be business related, just in general life. 5 tips.
5 tips. Number 1, how can I resist an SEO focus? Set up your Google business profile listing. Number 1, and make the most of it. So go out there and get reviews, so important. Make sure you fill in all the information, have some photos there, update it regularly. So that is first and foremost business tip to anybody. Have that Google business listing. And you can have one even if you work from home. You don't have to publish your address online. You do have to give it to Google, but you don't have to make it public, which is, I think, is a relief to a lot of business owners if they're at home.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so that's number 1. Number 2, oh gosh, let me think. This is more for people who have a team. So I can't think of any of the quotes off the top of my head, but my business is my team. You often hear advice about, customers first, but if you look after your team, they will look after your business. So building a team culture, even though we're remote, and taking care of my team and valuing them and helping them to develop. Like, I don't mind teaching them SEO. I realise they probably wouldn't come to me with those skills. But as long as they had the other stuff, I was happy to teach them. So really look after your team would be tip number 2. Tip number 3 is set boundaries.
Set boundaries, I love that. What sort of boundaries now?
Boundaries like closing that door at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
Midnight.
Yeah, look, there are times that you work late and you do stupid hours, but then as a bonus, I might take a Thursday off or a Friday off. So just trying to have that balance, and do close the door and turn the computer off and don't touch it over the weekend, and do not open your emails. So that's 3. On the emails thing again, turn off all your notifications when you're working at your computer. Closure, I try to check my inbox 3 times a day when I come into work, around lunchtime and before I finish for the day. And I deal with my emails then, because otherwise it can become your to-do list. And I've got other things to do. And I don't want my inbox to rule my life, and I don't want to get distracted whenever something pops up. So turn those notifications off. And number 5, let me think. What's a good tip? I'm
But we're hanging on. We're hanging on
I'm
for your last
struggling.
question.
Oh, gosh. Number 5. What do I wish I'd known when I started out? Okay, networking. Yep, networking is number 1. So you might be surprised to hear me say that because I offer a form of marketing. I help businesses with SEO, but as I always tell my prospects and clients, SEO is one egg in your marketing basket, and it works best when it's in conjunction with all the other eggs. So whether you have a Facebook or you're running Google ads or you have an email database and newsletter, 100% you need to have networking in that basket because people do business with people and they need to get to know you, they need to like you, they need to trust you before they want to do business with you. And networking, look, it doesn't have to be, here's my business card. Here, can I have an appointment with you next week?
Yeah,
It's just getting to know people and just, and if you do feel a synergy with someone or there's a commonality between your businesses, you make an appointment afterwards to follow up with them and have what we call a one-to-one in BNI circles.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I still do that with people who aren't in BNI. I might meet someone and I think we can work well together or there's opportunities to collaborate. So, and that's how you meet people is by getting out and networking and getting known.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about building those trusted relationships.
Relationships, yes.
Yeah, and then just talking to your clients as well. Whenever they, for example, my clients like to call me up with any issues they may have, and because I'm the first person that they talk to, it gives me the opportunity to go, right, who can I introduce them to within my circle that I know will look after them? And the only way I can do that is by networking because I want to refer to someone that I can like, know, and trust and know that they would respond back in
And that they'll look after your client.
Yeah.
And because I do specialise in SEO, and I do have clients who are like, do you know someone who does Facebook? Do you know someone who does Google Ads? Do you know someone who can help me with my website? So I'm doing my clients a favour by developing those relationships and having trusted people that I can then refer them to. Helps make my business look better.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And being online is the most important thing too. So not only in-person networking, but being visible online and having your profiles, your LinkedIn, doing a lot of blog posts as well, I hear.
Video, podcasts, social media, all of that is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And webinars as well. So Janet runs a webinar. Do you have one coming up that you want to share with us?
I do. I have a free webinar coming up in the 24th of October, and it's actually in conjunction with New South Wales Small Business Month. And one of my team members, Nicola, is based in Sydney, and so it was through her encouragement that we decided to put this webinar on, and it's 10 tips to creating content that Google loves.
Wow.
So that's coming up Thursday the 24th at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So that'll be 10 a.m. for us here.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. And what about your other socials? Where can we find out more about you and get in contact?
Well, there's our website, frontpageseo.com.au. But you can also send an email, janet@frontpageseo.com.au. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we are on LinkedIn as well. We do have a YouTube channel, but I haven't done much with it for a few years, so I need to revamp that. For the moment, I think that's enough. Thinking about TikTok, don't know if it's the right audience for me though. Have thought about a podcast, don't know yet. We'll see.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah. So the main places are probably Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn.
Okay, wonderful. And one last question for you, Janet. I know you've been in business for 12 years, but where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Business-wise, personally-wise, travelling?
Travelling. Travelling. 5 years' time, I would like to think I'm moving towards semi-retirement. So, and I am sort of working towards that now. My husband only works part-time now, so he works 3 days a week. And in my calendar, I block off Mondays and Fridays so people can't book appointments with me. And look, I can squeeze one in if I think it's important and I really want to do it then. But gradually I'm trying to, and with the help of my team, I'm trying to compress my work into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And look, if I take Monday off or the odd Friday off, that would be ideal for me. All about that work-life balance. My husband's looking forward to retirement. I'm like, don't talk to me about retirement. I'm not ready
just
yet.
yet.
I'm having too much fun.
Yeah.
And particularly if I can compress it to 3 days, I think, yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Work-life balance. That's definitely what I'm aiming towards. I think I'll have, another 30 years of working before I get there?
You never know.
You never know.
Years.
Maybe 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years is a good goal.
12 years.
I'm sure you'll do it. If
Yeah,
you
thanks,
put
Janet.
your
Yeah.
mind to it, and I know you're the sort of person that gets in there and does it, so I'm
thanks,
sure you can
Janet.
make it so.
Absolutely. Mindset is another thing too. Having a good mindset sets the day up right.
It does. It does. And look, it's been tough. I'm not going to lie. I have definitely noticed this year the economy contracting and people getting more cautious, and things have slowed up a bit, just as I put 2 new team members on because we were so smashed last year. But that's okay. They're casual, so we can deal with it. And just, it's all about mindset and being resilient. And when you lose a client, being able to get up in the morning and go, well, that was yesterday. Today we're going to do this. And working on your business, not just in it. So thinking about ways you can pivot, there's that word that we all learned to hate in COVID, and do things differently and change things up to adapt to the conditions. And with the economy being slower, one thing I will say is we've suffered a little bit because the first thing people do when money gets tight is, let's shut down our marketing or let's tighten up our marketing. And that is the worst thing they can do. I understand where they're coming from, but if anything, during the tough times, that's when you should really go hard on your marketing because you're then picking up when everyone else is pulling back, you're suddenly front and centre. So it's the ideal time to do it.
That's a really good tip. And yeah, absolutely. It's all about subscription. Everything these days is subscription basis, and trying to move away from that word because subscription scares me. That's one of the things that you kind of get sucked into. You're locked into something, but that's definitely not the case with with marketing and SEO. You need that consistency, and when you stop, that's when it goes backwards, and that's the last thing you want as a small business owner. You need to continue with that cash flow and that consistency of work coming through.
Yes. People say, I'm too busy, so I just drop the ball on my networking or my marketing. No, you've got to keep it up because if you don't, you will have that downturn.
Yes.
Yeah. So important to keep on keeping on.
I love that. I think that's our final quote for today.
There you go.
Well, thank you, Janet, for joining us on this podcast, Only a Girl. We'll put Janet's details online so you can find Janet either on the platforms that Janet has mentioned before.
Yes, and we do offer a free 30-minute Zoom consult.
Yes.
So if you're thinking SEO and you're not sure what it involves, happy to take a look, do an SEO checkup of how your SEO is going and make some suggestions to you. Of course, if you wanted to hire us to implement those for you, not a problem. Or you could enrol in our DIY course, but I think it helps if you can talk to someone about it first.
Absolutely. Just get some guidance beforehand and know that you won't be charged an arm and a leg just to get it.
And we won't pull the wool over your eyes.
Because you've got the white hat.
I do. I forgot to bring my white hat today, but
that's all right. Maybe next time. We'll have another podcast.
yeah. Well, if you check out my socials, you see I get around a lot with my white hat, my white cowboy hat.
White cowboy hat.
Prove
I
that
love
we're the good guys.
Yeah. Do you have cowboy boots to go with it?
No, I don't. There's something. Might put that on my Christmas wish list.
There you go. Well, thank you, Janet, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.